Hello there and welcome to How to YouTube, a little series about all the tools I use for making YouTube videos. And today I thought we'd start with the basic setups of OBS, because OBS is the software I use for capturing pretty much everything. Everything I do as recorded is captured in OBS, or it's live streamed. It's captured in OBS, set up to live stream or to the files. Basically, OBS is the crux of the entire thing. You might be using some other tools. There are many tools out there. OBS is a free little project that does an amazing job and I love it. So here's how we're going to do it. So this episode is about the basic setup of OBS. There'll be other episodes about the advanced setup and how to have multiple audio lines and all that sort of stuff. Even how to do chroma keying. So if you want to find them, they should be available soon or already. But today, basic setup. Okay, so this is OBS Studio. It is the version 2 basically. The first version is the classic, and this is the studio. So this version is much improved on the one. When it starts up, you get a scene but no source. Source are your games and your monitors and all that sort of stuff. So the very basic setup is you want to start capturing something like a monitor. So you right click here and you say add, and you want to go for, you can have images and browser sources. So images are obviously just a picture. Slideshow, you point it at a folder and it will load up multiple pictures from that folder and just rotate through them. Browser source is a web page, great for if you're using Twitch. You can do Twitch alerts and it'll just pop up message notifications on screen about followers and donations and stuff. Media source, if you want to point it at a video and say, hey, play this video for me, like an intro or an outro or something. Text, well, you can imagine what that is. It's just a bit of text on screen. Display capture is basically capture my entire screen. It's what I'm using right for a second, which I don't normally use, to capture the whole monitor, which includes the start bar at the bottom. Normally you don't want to use that one for games because it captures everything. You just want to capture the game normally. Window capture will capture just the one window. So if you've got like Firefox or Discord or something like that, you want to capture that, then it'll do that. It can be very useful. Some games don't always capture game capture, and they will capture in that, so it's useful. Game capture itself, that captures, well, the game. Funnily enough, not all games will support this. Most do, and it is the most efficient. If you use that one, it will use the less resources to maintain the hook onto the game. Video capture device, if you have a camera, that's what that is. So little webcams and stuff. And then we've got audio input capture, which is your microphones and sound cards, and so output is your speakers. Not quite sure, I've never used those two, to tell you the truth. And then scene, which you actually use a scene as a source. It's kind of weird, but it works. Today I'll just show you the video capture. Boom, add a video capture, give it a name. Boom, then it'll say, okay, well, what do you want to use? I don't actually have my camera attached at the moment for different reasons, but you pick your camera, you got your activate and deactivate, configure, all your options come in here, and you choose all your little settings. We'll come back to cameras later when we do the green screening stuff. Let's just get rid of that. Remove. Yep, thank you. So if we said, okay, how about a game capture, which is what most of you are actually wanting to do anyway. You give it a name. I just recommend, if you're going to use one scene, just give it a generic name. If you're going to have one for like everything, give them proper names, because it can be used in multiple locations. So you can see now that Turmoil has been captured by OBS immediately because it figured out it's a game. So there we go. It's a full screen application, so it's grabbed it immediately. It's happy. If we change that to window and we say, actually, I want you to grab, where's my other thing? Discord. I'm looking at my mod chat right now. It will go, you know what? I'm not going to capture the game because Discord doesn't get captured. It's a safety feature. It says, look, there's nothing being captured right now. But if I said, hey, why not look at Turmoil? It's a game. Look at that right there. Oh, look at that. I captured it immediately. That's now been captured in game capture. It's been captured by a specific window. That's great if you want to sort of do window games and to grab them very often. I don't like using full screen games because I like to take my cursor out of the game. So that's if you don't like doing full screen, then you've got capture full screen applications, which it won't do until I go back into the game. Just bing. There we go. You have executable name, class name. They're pretty much not needed. You can ignore those unless you've got a game like Rimble where the executable name changes every time. You can actually just say, well, I'll do it on class or title where they don't change. Anti-cheats just stops you from complaining about certain bits. Capture cursor is kind of important. It's how you know where the cursor is on the screen. Turn that off and you won't get the cursor. Third-party applications such as Steam, you can have that if you want it on. I personally recommend it off because it kind of distracts and also can put unwanted information on screen. Anyway, that is your game capture. Very simple. It's there. Once you've got it on there, you can click and drag and move to one side. You can scale it down, make it smaller, and make it like that. and say I want the game to be like there, and then something else. So you can do that for like insert windows. But imagine this was your webcam. You put your webcam there, and you can have your game over here, and they can overlay each other. But that's your basic, and it snaps against the edge. That's your basic game capture. Okay, so that's the game capture done. But they're going to go to the settings, because settings are important for this piece. So the first thing we're going to do is go into main settings and look at all the complicated settings this actual program has. Just going to cover the basic ones today, and we'll come back again and cover the more complicated ones later. Okay, so we've got confirmation on starting and stopping streams. I like the confirmation on starting streams so you don't accidentally start one and not realise it. Stopping streams is optional. I tend to leave that off. If I hit the button, stop the stream, then stop the stream. Hide the cursor, no, that's fine. Automatic recording stream, that's actually very useful. If you want to do local recording, turn that on. And also keep the recording when the stream stops. I'm not sure why you'd want to delete the recording when the stream stops. But if your CPU and your hard drive can handle it, then get a local recording. If not, turn it off. You don't need it if you're uploading to YouTube and Twitch because they do keep a VOD anyway. But it's very good if you want to edit pieces out and sort of chop and chips. It's useful. Alright, so I'll leave that as it is for now. But that one, that's optional to you. And these ones I recommend that one definitely on. This is all about snapping to the grid. So when we were designing that, it snapped at the edge. That's where your snapping bits work. They're quite useful. You can turn them off if they get annoying to you. Next important one is the actual stream. You find you'll use a service. It'll be Twitch or YouTube, Hitbox, any of these main ones. I currently use Restream.io because it'll broadcast out. I broadcast out to that one service and it rebroadcasts out to Twitch and YouTube for me. So I can output 2 separate streams at the same time. I recommend it. It's quite a good service. It doesn't cost anything. It doesn't actually add any lag and stuff, and you get to broadcast on 2 or 3 different things at the same time. Useful. But whichever one you choose, you'll be given a key. Now, when you choose like Twitch, you'll be given servers. Find the server closest to you, like London, because I'm in the UK. But if you have a problem, don't worry about changing. I've used Paris a few times. It works quite nicely. It doesn't add any latency or anything like that. It just gives you the ability to change servers if you need to. Also, I'll say with YouTube, you get the backup and primary server, but pick the servers closest or best for you. You can find out there are programs to figure out which are the best servers. But you'll be given a key. That key goes in here. Now, that key is very, very important. If you want to stream, you place that key in there and it allows you to stream. But if someone else finds out what that key is, they can stream on your behalf, and that can be very bad. If you want to share it with 2 or 3 people, that's great. All of you share it. But if it gets out to the public, you're going to be embarrassed. People are going to do stupid stuff, and you can even get banned if they start doing inappropriate stuff. So whatever you put in this key, keep it very, very secret. Okay? Good. Now, that's only needed if you want to stream. If you don't want to stream, if you just want to do recordings, just leave that stream key blank. There's nothing else, just leave it blank, and it won't stream. So if you're just doing recordings, leave that blank. Then we get to one of the most important sections here, the output. This is actually what we want to do. Do you want to output to a live stream, or do you want to output to a recording, that kind of stuff? So it gets very, very important. I recommend immediately changing from simple to advanced. It might sound confusing, but I recommend it. The main reason for me is it lets you separate out. Right now you've got streaming and recording. You get your bit rate there. That's in kilobits per second. So if you've got a 3 meg connection, then you can do 3000. That's 3 meg. You got your encoder. What type of encoders you got available to you? Most people only have the one, but if you've got a graphics card that can handle external encoding, go for it. It will reduce the CPU load, but it does also reduce the quality simultaneously. So it's a bit. Your output path. Advanced settings are there. I'll explain those in a moment. And you can change the quality settings. These are very useful, but I'm going to talk about those in the advanced option because that's the way you really want to do it. Okay, advanced option. Right here, I'm not going to change too many settings, so we'll come back to this later when it comes to the multi-audio channels, which is very important. But here, audio tracks. The OBS has 4 audio tracks it outputs on. 1, 2, 3, and 4. So we'll just set number 1 for now. There's your encoder, and you can see my graphics card is there if I want to use that one. I tend not to. I tend to use 264 because it's very good. That just enforces the streaming settings. Ignore that, really. And if you want to rescale, if you want to say, oh, I record at 1080p, but I want to downgrade to 720p, you can click on that, and then drop that down to 720. Oh, maybe there. And say, hey, downscale my output. So now people watching get 720p, even though you're at 1080. Useful if you want to get better quality at a lower bit rate. I kind of leave mine off anyway. And then you've got the rate control. It's got loads of different options, but the main 2 are CBR and CRF. So CBR is constant bitrate. So you say, oh, I want you to broadcast, and this is what for streaming you should be using CBR, because streams like consistency. So if I put 3500, that's 3.5 megabits per second. Now remember, that's all. It's a mixture of what you can upload and what your viewer can download, and this is for streaming only. It's the only way that matters. Okay, and then you got your buffers here, your intervals. I probably recommend 2 or 0. It depends on the services. 0 is auto, so it'll figure itself out. Now, I know it's a lot of information, but it's important information. This one, CPU usage preset, higher equals less CPU. The higher you run this value, the less CPU you need, but the more data you have to upload for the same quality. So if you put it on very slow, you'll get a very, very good quality video for a very high CPU cost. The default is very fast, and it's probably recommended to leave it there unless you want to go a bit higher, but on streaming, probably leave it at very fast, it's fine. You have your profiles. Default is none. You probably want high. These are actual profiles for the 264. Baseline is quite poor quality. Main is okay quality. High is the highest quality. It's best if you can get to that one. I don't know if you can, but it depends on your CPU. But none or high I would recommend on that. Tune you can pretty much ignore for the most part. It has advanced features, you can use them if you want, but I would probably recommend ignoring that. It's about how to tune the data for what type of things you're sending out, and don't bother. You just capture everything. Any special commands in there? I don't recommend any, but you might get some that you might put better with your hardware. But anyway, that is your streaming done. If you want to do streaming, that is it. That's all you need there to get your streaming up and running. If you want to record it, however, to the recording tab here, you say, I want to record it and I want to record it at that location. That's my hard drive. I'm going to record it in that folder there. You can change the folder if you wish. Put it somewhere special. And then you got file types. Now, FLV is a default. I highly recommend MP4. It's a standard. Every PC can open it by default. And it supports the thing for later on, which is the multiple audio tracks. We'll deal with those later, but for all intents and purposes, MP4 is probably the most common, and it can play on most devices without even needing to be uploaded to like YouTube or anything. Encoder. Now you can use encoding, you can use all these settings here without any tweaking, but chances are you can record higher quality than you can record. Let's do that. Now we're recording and streaming differently. And this is an amazing thing. You can set your bitrate differently. So I'm going to come back to these settings again. Remember, CBR and CRF are maybe the best two. Well, CBR is constant bitrate. So you can say, actually, I want to record on my hard drive of 5,000 bits per second, kilobits per second. So I want to do 5 megabits on my hard drive, but 3.5 megabits on my actual live stream. That means my recording on my local PC will have a higher quality than my live stream could possibly have. And that means if I upload to YouTube after I've finished live streaming on Twitch, my YouTube upload will be a higher quality than the Twitch stream was. Very useful. If you're just doing recordings, however, you can ignore this entire tab here. It's useless to you, and just focus on this one tab here. Now the thing is, I always recommend you can change over to CRF. CRF is actually more of a quality setting, and the value here is your quality. I recommend a level around 16. It's a good quality level. Takes a bit of data usage. It's about 2 gigabytes for a 20-minute recording, depending on how much changes on the screen, but basically captures a lot of quality. Look at my other videos that are on YouTube right now. That's the quality of 16. I use 16 for my personal recordings. I'm actually capturing this on Classic because obviously I can't capture it on the normal one because I have to wipe all my settings to show you guys. Keyframes again, YouTube recommends 2, I believe, but you can do it on auto if you want to. CPU preset again, if you don't care about actual hard drive space, you can go up to ultra fast. It will pump out a higher file size but less CPU intensive, so useful there. Again, set that to high. Don't bother tuning it. Variable frame rate is a very, very bad thing. You turn that on, and OBS will capture in variable frame rate, and some recording programs do not like it, especially a Premiere Pro. Does not like variable frame rate. It can't handle it at all. Right, so that's the basics of the recording. Then you've got audio. I know it's a complicated process, but we'll get you set up really quickly. These are your the 4 tracks we talked about earlier. Set them all to the highest quality. Why the hell would you want anything lower than best quality audio? I can't understand why. You can give them names if you wish. It's not really worth it. But you say quality's there. And that's your main 3. Then over on audio, I know, long setup process, isn't it? We'll be done, nearly done. Your default audio device. This is basically if you're playing games, what source they come from. You can have it at default, which is what your speakers are set to by default, or you can choose a particular piece of hardware. I'm going to choose my speakers because I prefer to capture whatever my speakers pump out. You can have a second one as well if you wish. You can say, oh, I want to record from this as well. If you wish, that's great. Then you get your microphones. What microphone do I want to use? Well, I want to use my Blue Snowball. There we go. But you can say, oh, I actually want to use my virtual audio cable, or my default, or my webcam, or whatever, or your headset. So you can choose there. You can have 3 or 4. Well, 3 actually. That's great if you've got like a Blue Snowball on your desktop. You've got a headset microphone and something else, like webcam microphone. You might want to change between them. By all means, you can mute them independently, so that's good. You can push to mute, push to talk. For recordings, generally it wants to be off. I probably don't really recommend them, because if you're recording, you don't want to get the part where you're talking for 5 minutes and realize you haven't pressed the push to talk button, do you? So there you go. Video is basically what frame rate, what resolution do you want to broadcast at? What do you want to scale it to? Make sure you change that to 1080p, or you'll end up scaling down and you didn't even realize it. That scaling from up there, it's like an override for this one. It'll just screw you over if you forget to change it. It should both be 1080p. This is an important one. 30 frames per second is kind of the old standard for YouTube. But it is the standard for live streams due to bandwidth. The more frames you push out, the more bandwidth you need. So I recommend keeping it 30 frames for live streaming, 60 frames for recordings. 60 will require twice as much data for processing. So if you can't handle it on your CPU, or if your internet's poor, do 30 frames. No one will care. But 60 frames looks really like buttery smooth. You'll love it. It's amazing. But yeah, 30 is sort of the old standard, and definitely standard for streaming. 60 is the standard for YouTube now, really. Hotkeys, so many hotkeys you can choose. I like to have mute and mute there, so I can mute by pressing the button on my mouse. I also like to have start recording on that and start recording on that. So I press the control key mouse 4 to start and stop recordings, and then mute is on mouse 5. That just means I can start and stop and mute. If I have to cough, I can just smash the button and mute the microphone immediately. It's great. Also, I noticed to put this down on microphone. I can do it on desktop as well, but I don't see a real reason to mute the desktop. You might have got loads of options here. And then finally on the list, they actually have the advanced setting. Now, by default, this is set to normal. I recommend setting to high. Basically, when you're recording, you probably want the actual recording to be as good quality as possible. The game may lag, but the recording will be fine. Whereas if you set that to, say, low, well, normal, when the game starts doing something really intensive, the recording software, the OBS, might actually sort of start to bug out. Not bug out, but lag. So you'll have a really good, smooth gaming experience. And then when you can look at your recording, it stutters and there's missing frames, and it's got... it's just... Set that to high. I don't even know why it's not set to high by default. Set that to high, or above normal. But that way, OBS takes a very high priority on the CPU. If OBS needs CPU time, OBS gets CPU time. That's where you want it to be. This is God for recording, so you have to have good quality there. Final little section: DirectX 11 or OpenGL, whichever you prefer. 11 is pretty decent for most stuff. GL is good on certain graphics cards, but it's up to you on that one. Color format, probably just leave those alone. Actually, NV12 is actually the best on the list, I believe. And you've got color palettes, and you've got your partials. They all change little things. That basically play with them if you want to, but quite frankly, this screen you can pretty much leave alone apart from that setting there. And then this one, file name formatting. It will actually do, when you record something, it'll create a file in that folder from earlier of year, month, day, hour, minute, second. So you should never have a situation where it clashes when you do 2 recordings in a row. Stream delay, just leave it alone. It means if you're broadcasting, there'll be like a 20-second delay between what you say and what anyone will see, on top of the normal stream delay, which is, problematic at the best sometimes. Automatic reconnect is a very useful feature in case you get disconnected at any point. Optional. Turn it off if you want to do manual reconnections. Bind to IP, you can actually say, hey, I want to use that network card. Probably best to turn it off in reality. We don't want to give it to 20 cat stream because you unplugged your network cable and plugged it into a different port and now it doesn't know. But there you go, that is every setting. The most important screen, of course, being that one. So take your time, play around with the settings, make sure you get them all right, and then OK. And there we go. So once you get to that bit, you're done. You're at the screen, you've got a game capture set up, you've got your settings set. In the mixer here, you can see you've got your microphone set to 100%, your desktop audio set to 100%, no balancing, no off syncs. These are very important if you're capturing from a capture card, where there's a definite synchronization difference between what you record and what your microphone records. You can offset them by milliseconds, but generally you won't need that. And tracks will come into later on. that is it. You got down here, you get your equalizer for your microphone. As you can see, it is bouncing all over the place when I talk. You can also mute it so it goes away, and you can unmute it so it comes back. You got volume control independently of each other. That's your desktop audio there. And we'll talk about the other stuff later on. But then here, most importantly, remember, start streaming and start recording. If you hit start recording, it starts to record. All the amazing stuff you've done here, you get your stats. If you're streaming, you get bandwidth and stuff and drop frames and stuff, notifications. That's great. And then when you're finished, you hit stop recording and it just stops recording. It's as simple as that. You will now have a file in that folder that refers to this recording session that you can now use. It's amazing. It's good. It's brilliant. We'll go over the next time. We'll go over things like more capture sources like cameras and games, and we'll go over some more of those in the future. But if that's the basic setup, you will now have the ability to record a game, high quality video with the microphone and the desktop audio being separate. That one can be controlled by you. That's your main system sounds. That's fine, and you can record. Okay, I hope all of that helps. This is the longest, probably the longest video of the series because it's the basic getting everything set up. From here on, it's going to be a little how to tweak this or how to do this little piece. But all of the other things in the future rely upon the settings that we've done today. Okay, so I hope you've all enjoyed, and I hope it's been informative, and I hope it's really helped you out. I've gone through stuff really quickly, so if you'd like me to do a video more in focus on any one area, please let me know. But there will be videos focusing on ways to sort of expand upon this and do more amazing stuff. But for now, that is all we've got time for. So as usual, comments in the comments. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.